was 18 and I was able to kind of start adventuring more, I stumbled into kind of like more addictive tendencies, drug use, gambling, and I got myself in a really dark place where I was just, I just couldn't get out of it. And then I ended up having a child with someone a lot older for an abusive, awful kind of coercive control relationship. And I called her Aurora because she was the light that came out of a really dark situation. But after I got away from all that, I still hadn't figured myself out, and I was still struggling, and I still struggled with kind of active addiction and things like that. And I decided, don't know why, one day I just decided to book a 2-week holiday to LA. And I played guitar. I'm always a musician, but I never really did anything with it. I focus on plays. But I'm going to go 2 weeks in LA, and I'm going to go, and I'm just going to try and become a musician, I said to my mum. And for whatever reason, she was like, okay, did you do that? And I went to America, and I stopped taking drugs. I just stopped taking drugs. I removed myself out of toxic soil and environment around all the people that were around me that would come around and persuade me to buy drugs or to get drugs or with them or do whatever. And I just stopped. And then 2 weeks turned into like 3 months. And then I moved after 2 weeks down to San Diego and got a job in a hostel. Started waking up in the mornings, going surfing, playing music every single day. And I fell in love with life again. And I ended up in a place called Hillcrest on my next kind of time back in San Diego. Came back to England for a little bit, went back to San Diego, and I got a job in a hostel in Hillcrest, which is the gay capital of San Diego. And I met all these awesome people, and I used to always wear clothes that I hated, but like I hated my body. And then people told me about binders, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I started feeling really comfortable in my body when I wore a binder. And then I started just experimenting and exploring my gender. And it was in a really, really safe environment. And it was the first time in my life that I'd ever had a safe environment to feel like myself. And then when I came kind of home, I just spent a lot of time speaking to my parents and close friends about kind of like wanting surgery. Still hadn't hit the nail on the head. I think I was very internally transphobic, to be honest. I grew up in a very, there was no gay people or trans people around me, and it was not the best thing in the world, like it spoke about. So I was very scared. And I remember coming to my mum and parents and asking if they would be okay if I hated my chest that much. Would they be okay if would they still want to speak to me if I had my chest removed, take my breast removed? And I remember my mum saying, but you're a woman and you couldn't have your top off ever, still, because this, that. And I was like, and I just didn't know how to have any of the conversations with her. And then I don't really know what it was or who it was that I spoke to, but there was loads of people that I spoke to online mainly. I feel like it's easier to speak to people online than it is to kind of speak to people in person. And over a year and a half of being back home in England, I kind of started putting pieces together and building my life back up. And I realised that it was something that I wanted to kind of bring up to the people around me. So I started using different pronouns. I still, once again, was so scared of telling my parents and my daughter that I was trans. I think that's a big thing, taking a mum away from your child. But sorry, it's a very sentence, you know what I mean? But I asked people to call me by they, them pronouns. And that as soon as someone did it, I was like, no, that's not for me. That's not the one. That feels worse than she, her. And she, her felt awful. And people were kind of just, everyone in America called me 007. I never got gendered over there. It was great. And I got it tattooed on me because I was British.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then when I came over, tried using the they, them pronouns, didn't like it. And I started asking my close friends to use he, him, and everything started feeling better. And then I started to my parents were the last people, unfortunately, but I started telling people at work. I worked in a hospital and I came out at work. Everyone received it pretty well, except from one person, and that just made me feel even better. And then I eventually I asked my mum to come meet me on my lunch break. I was going to write her. Well, I told her months before I wrote her a letter and I was going to give it to her. And then I just didn't because I hadn't wrote the letter because I've got ADHD and I think ahead. So I asked her to come meet me on my lunch break and I just broke down in the car and told her, and she was just amazing. And she said that she kind of knew, but she was just kind of waiting for me. And do I want to tell my dad? Do I want her to tell my dad? Does she want me to be there? What does this mean? How can she kind of move forward with things? And then they just kind of supported me the entire way. And I was really lucky in that, because a big part of holding it back, I mean, I've got messages from like 2 years before I came out to my mum, talking to somebody on TikTok about how I would come out tomorrow if my parents weren't in the picture, because that would make it feel easier.
Right, yeah,
and if
yeah.
I hadn't have had a child, because I feel like they were the main people that I was worried in, like, would leave me. Like, because I think that is the scariest part, is that some people really do come out and they lose their family. But I was really lucky in that respect that I didn't. And it's been a journey, definitely. They're in their 60s. But every time they want to learn out of love. And my mum has done like programs and podcasts and filming with Bernardo's, grandparents and carers event with me over in Leeds. My dad like helps me whenever I need him, like genuinely. He teaches me all the things that I wanted him to teach me when I was younger, and we've had hard conversations about, you know, things that he could have helped with in the past and stuff, and it's been very healing. And I'm glad that I have them there to help with that.
Please tell me he taught you how to shave.
Do you know what? Honestly, no. But
No?
my dad can't shave himself.
Fair enough.
I wouldn't want any thinking tips from him. But yeah, no, my dad and I have a running joke. He just has a mustache. I don't know if you remember John Cleese, Basil Fawlty, but he is the Spitz of John Cleese, and we grew up. They have pubs growing up. So he is Basil Fawlty always. I call him Basil. So he has a great mustache, and I've said one day I will have a mustache better than yours, Dad. It's like yours. It's very,
every time he's like,
no, you won't. One day we're gonna get there.
And what about you two? I'll go, because I'm very aware that Kira, you're just sitting there in silence, just listening away. But
I'm normally opposite.
I know.
How did you guys meet?
Honestly, TikTok. No, genuinely TikTok. So, oh no, I love this story. Right, so basically, I followed Bradley on TikTok for like 3 years. I actually didn't know he was trans. I had no idea, but I actually started following him before he'd even transitioned. He was a lesbian, but I didn't know. He looked like a man. Do you know what I mean? I had no idea. So he passing privilege. Sort of, this is how far it goes. But yeah, I had no idea. So yeah, even before. So I didn't know. So I just thought, oh yeah, cool. Followed him for 3 years. Watched all of his videos and his music and stuff. And I was like, we're sorted.